Hey everyone, welcome to Feed Your Brand. I'm Tracy Hazard and I'm doing a solo episode today with a good friend and neighbor. He lives right here in Orange County, TR Garland. And TR and I have known each other a little while now. I think it's been about almost 2 years, since we first met. And I've written an article about him, which I will share in the blog post for this episode. But I'm excited because we don't often get such a deep expert in something as unique as LinkedIn. So after a decade of working directly with industry icons like Brian Tracy, Laura Langemeyer, Michael Gerber, I've been on stage with Michael before. He's amazing. And the Think and Grow Rich brand, he is a #1 best-selling author, Wall Street Journal award winner. He's got a 3-step success system that's simple enough for all of you because I've actually taken it. I know what it's like. And it helps them get more prospects, partners, and platforms while using your free LinkedIn profile. So that's what we're going to talk about it. He says that Inc. magazine recognizes TR as today's most relevant relationship marketing expert. Somebody I know might have written that. And I recognize him as a good friend. He's a trainer. He's a great speaker. And he is great at giving you lots of tips and help. And so he's going to share some of that with us today. And I'm so excited to have you on the show. So thank you so much for joining me, TR.
Thank you very much for having me. I am very, very excited to deliver as much practical and tactical advice as possible for your listening audience, Tracy.
Thank you. You're speaking my language, as you know. So you have a totally unique perspective. We've talked about this before, but my listeners haven't read the article yet. So I want to make sure you have a completely unique perspective on LinkedIn. And I can't wait to talk about that. So tell us a little bit about that.
So what I found based on my 10 plus years of focusing on relationship-based marketing methods and more specifically utilizing your free LinkedIn profile to get more prospects, partners, and platforms, what I found is that oftentimes I'll speak to a group of individuals or even an audience, and a lot of people will say, yes, I know, I've got a LinkedIn profile, I need to look into that. Right there.
I need to look into that. I've heard that one before.
It's almost like they're telling on themselves. It's like a disclaimer. Don't devalue me as a human being. I know I have a LinkedIn profile. I need to focus on it again. And the reality is what they're telling, in their underlying story to me is, all right, I know other speakers, authors, coaches, and consultants are getting results using LinkedIn. I just don't know how. I've been there before. I've kind of set up my profile and nothing happens. Right, Tracy? That's really what they're saying. They're saying, I'm confused. Please give me a 3-step success sequence to follow. That's really what they're saying.
Yeah.
And what I encourage them to do is first focus on the mindset before we focus on the skill set. And I'll repeat myself. In order to succeed using LinkedIn, I'm going to encourage you and all of your listeners to first focus on the mindset and then focus on the skill set.
So in this case, you're talking about like an approach to LinkedIn.
Correct. An underlying approach, your perspective. Right? And so in the past, if I asked that audience to raise their hands, how many people have gotten paying clients using their free LinkedIn profile, at minimum out of yes, you have.
That's right. I have, but I've already been to your school. So there you go.
Correct. When I ask an audience that doesn't have Tracy Hazard in it, this question, how many people have gotten, paying clients from using their LinkedIn profile? I mean, it's like 2%. Right? It's 2 or 3%.
I would really suspect that. I think I think out of all the platforms, it's probably the most misunderstood and underutilized.
It is absolutely correct. That's a perfect explanation. And because it's misunderstood and because it's underutilized, it breaks my heart because people are approaching it from a very, very forward, a very, very money-driven marketing mode of thought. And I'm going to encourage people, if you're not getting paying clients using your free LinkedIn profile today, then change your approach, then change your perspective. And that's where mindset comes into play. If you want different results using LinkedIn, then I encourage you to adopt a different mindset. And that mindset is that LinkedIn could and should not be thought of as social media. It shouldn't.
I love that. I love that perspective shift right there. And I want to say, if you're out there and your biggest problem is getting great guests, I want you to substitute paying clients for great guests, right? Like if that's not, because LinkedIn for me has been the number one place that I get my amazing guests from, that I get my most valuable, most interesting. It's the place people reach back out to me build a relationship with me, to ask to guest.
Sure.
So thinking about it that way, if podcast developers out there, you launchers out there, that it's a great way for you to look at that. A guesting strategy is simply the same thing as a client strategy.
And you're finding success, Tracy, because you've already adopted this perspective. And that perspective is that LinkedIn is not social media. And we could go even further by saying, don't even think of LinkedIn as technology. Think of LinkedIn as a huge convention center, and they're hosting a trade show. And in that trade show, now, as of this recording, there's around 600 million professionals that are not only invited to that trade show, they're walking up and down the aisles of that trade show every single day. And oh, by the way, you, Tracy, me, and all of your podcast listeners, right? We've all been gifted a free trade show booth. Yet,
Yay!
possibly to your detriment, you may not have been focusing on that valuable real estate. So what I would love to do is close out this concept by saying, if you want different results from LinkedIn, adopt a different perspective. That perspective is, it's unique. It's not like any other social media platform. And even if we go a step further and say, don't think of it as technology, think of it as a convention center that's hosting a trade show. And then we conclude this concept, this core concept, by saying, just think of it as a trade show booth, right? And when people are walking down your aisle today, what are they seeing? Right? Have you laid the carpet down in your trade show booth yet to make it warm and welcoming? Yeah. Have you put a color branded skirt on the table that matches your corporate brand or your podcast, brand? Have you placed banners in the back of your trade show booth that draw people's attention from when they're walking past your trade show booth into a little bit closer? And then when they step inside your trade show booth, those brochures, are they placed on the front table, or are they placed all over, even in the back of your booth, right? Your 20 by 20 booth, to draw them in so that you have more opportunity to have a conversation with them.
Right. Right. I love that. I love that, TR. This is one of my perspective shifts that I absolutely love the first time I heard it from you. And it really resonates because how we work on LinkedIn and how LinkedIn treats itself is not like a social media platform. Like they have not been subject to the kind of algorithmic, I'm going to call them manipulations that go on Facebook, that go on Twitter, that go on, even some in Instagram with how you use hashtags and other things. They're not subject to that. They are very quick to shut down profiles that are using any kind of bot or system. They're very careful about all of that, and they treat their site with a different respect than a social media platform, and with a different level of privacy as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we could go down so many rabbit holes with just what you said. Yeah. Let me quickly simply address, I completely agree. I mean, the reality is, and you know about this study, that Gartner Research was a part of an overall study, and they found that the visitor to lead conversion ratio on LinkedIn was 3 times of what Twitter and Facebook was combined. Yeah. So to talk about productivity, right? If your podcast listeners, if your podcasters want to be productive and just get results, there is no other online networking platform for them to invest their time in and get the quickest results other than LinkedIn. And the reason is because we can go down the searchability of the market intelligence that you have at your fingertips, to find these individuals. The sheer fact that, in emails and the regular messages through LinkedIn, you can get directly, to them. They are reading these. Now, there is abuse. I will concede there is abuse. However, it's the same as going to your local Chamber of Commerce or BNI or LATIP or eWomen Network meeting. you're going to show up there and someone's going to be a little bit hokey and they're going to say, hey, Tracy, did you drive here tonight? And you're going to be like, oh, yeah. And go, fantastic. I sell car insurance. Let's do business with each other.
Yeah, there's going to be some of that. Yeah. My typical is, it's a different kind of abuse on LinkedIn. I think that that's a really good way to point it out. It is that sort of like, you've made the mistake in how you've personally handled it. It's not you've just received like downloads from bots and like, it's a little bit different on LinkedIn. And so it's kind of like, oh, that's not a person I want to do business with. So it's kind of easy to identify. It's not I'm inundated with these horrible ads and this horrible, these fake accounts. It's really hard. I've never had more than one fake account in all the years that I've been on LinkedIn. I think I've been on since the very beginning. And so, and the minute you report them, they're done. And this one was odd because it was someone who claimed to be a part of my business. He claimed to be one of my employees. I was like, what the heck? I don't have any employees in that particular business. Can't be possible.
Yeah, it's just like a fly. It's like shoe fly. As long as you approach it from that perspective, you will be as productive as possible, right? Yeah. So we address this mindset, right? Which is adopt this different perspective. From today forward, if your listeners treat LinkedIn like a convention center that's hosting a trade show and they have their own trade show booth, they will be much more successful than they have in the past.
What I like that is that also invites them to remember that it requires upkeep, which means that you have to keep it up. You have to keep it updated, which is what I find so often happens on LinkedIn profiles, that they haven't updated them since, 2009, maybe earlier. So
yeah, it's about making the right changes to the right sections on your LinkedIn profile to increase your visibility, right? I'm guessing that your podcasters would love to dramatically increase their visibility. And let me just simply share with them right now that we have an 8-week leveraging LinkedIn program, right? There's undoubtedly, I have a program. And during the first 4 weeks, we focus on the remodeling of that trade show booth.
Right. And this is what I want, we don't do a lot of selling on this show and everything, but I wanted TR to bring this out to you guys because I followed all of those steps. And what I saw was a significant increase in the views to my profile from doing this. And so that in and of itself is the first thing that happened. The second thing is that the people who were connecting with me were more valuable because they were matching themselves up to what I presented out there. And so that's really important. So they're stopping at your booth because they're stopping on your profile because they're like, this is what I want to know about. And so they're already asking you. So this is why I wanted TR to come on, because he's sharing these details. So please go on now.
Yeah, you actually hit the nail on the head, which was the point that I was going to make, which is I want to explain a framework, right? There's a success sequence that myself and my clients follow in order to get results on LinkedIn. And this isn't necessarily about the program. It's more about what steps do you take in the right order. And so the first 4 weeks of our Leveraging LinkedIn program focus on the messaging and marketing portion, which is the remodeling of the trade show booth. And then the second 4 weeks focus on the activity and accountability portion, which is how do you drive highly targeted traffic to that trade show booth that you just invested 4 weeks in remodeling. And my point was going to be, exactly what you said, Tracy, which is during that first 4 weeks, when I teach people what to put where in the right sections, what sections to hide, what sections to show, what features and functionality to use, prior to working with me, our clients, let's just assume they were getting 10 people stopping by their trade show booth on a monthly basis, right? 10 people. What we have been finding is that 6 to 12 times the amount of traffic is going to their LinkedIn trade show after the first 4 weeks of the program. And so my point being on this call today is being mindful of remodeling your trade show booth with the right vocabulary and with the right visuals. Now I'm looking to my right here because I wasn't planning on this. However, I actually have a sheet of paper here that says the Psychographic scripting system on it. the Psychographic scripting system. And that is my proprietary process that teaches you how to carefully craft the correct vocabulary and visuals so that it first captivates someone's attention, second, so it keeps their attention, and third, so that it compels them into action. And this is a universal principle that I want to convey to your listeners, Tracy. The goal of your LinkedIn profile is to captivate their attention, keep their attention, and compel them into action. And therefore, I want you to choose.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Tiara, I just want to make it very clear to people. This is something that is a little bit different about LinkedIn than it is about other social medias, right? So this is why this is trade show booth specific, is that your profile matters more here. More people come and look at your profile. That we get caught up in our feeds in other that all we care about is what's in the feed. But in LinkedIn, your profile really matters when people are searching and finding things. So it's just totally different where they're only searching on content in the other social profiles. In LinkedIn, they're actually searching for people. So they're searching up for profile first. So that is its first step. It's the, as he's talking about the trade show, it's the front of your booth, right? So it matters more than it does in any other social media.
Wow, I'm speechless. That's a fantastic point to bring out at this juncture in our conversation, because it's the truth. If you want different results using LinkedIn, just invest a little more time in remodeling your trade show booth, because today, quite frankly, based on what your LinkedIn profile looks like today, are you considered an expert on your topic? Based on what your LinkedIn profile looks like today, are you considered, an authority in your field? And based on what your LinkedIn profile looks like today, are you considered an influencer according to the other people in your segment of the industry? And if you answer no to any of those, that really is detrimental to your brand and your productivity of getting guests on, of getting downloads and listeners, and of utilizing the guesting strategy. Because when you reach out to someone and say, hey, I'd like to have you on my podcast, they're going to Google you. And the reality is that your LinkedIn profile is going to show up on page 1 of the Google search, and most likely in the top 3 spots. And they know that there is more information about your background on LinkedIn, so they are going to click there.
Because to them, it's independent. So to them, it's not your website, so they can go there and they look at that. And so for most people, they'll go to your website, but that's all about what you say about yourself. Now, your LinkedIn profile is too, but they are able to see your recommendations and the other things around you that they know are connected to other profiles that you don't have control over. So that's why to them, that's a little more objective choice for them to click on and check you out.
Absolutely. And that's why I did the double thumbs up.
Yes.
Tracy, I used to use the example saying that LinkedIn has this Yelp feel, right? Yelp succeeded and burst on the market because people were trusting peer-to-peer recommendations. And LinkedIn just has that vibe that it's peer-to-peer. And that's why, yes, they might go to your website. However, when I have asked people at corporations where they look for their experts, they go to the LinkedIn profile first because of that perspective. They feel like it's going to have a peer-to-peer vibe, even though they know that you have control over what to put there. So I've been wanting to get this one point out to you.
Please.
For 5-6 minutes now. And I want everybody to grab their pen and paper and write down this one word. It's actually a hyphenated word: micro commitments. Write down the word micro commitments, because your sole goal when you remodel your LinkedIn trade show booth is to cause the viewer to make micro commitments in the form of 3 seconds longer, 30 seconds longer, and hopefully 3 minutes longer. And therefore, there are 3 core components that make up the front door to your trade show booth. There are 3 core components that make up the front door to your trade show booth, right? And do we have time for me to share those 3 core components with your audience?
Absolutely. I'm not shutting down our time clock here. Not for you, TR. Absolutely. Keep going.
Okay, cool.
We want to hear all 3 of them. So
So before I go through those 3 core components, I want to have a little fun with you, Tracy. So I want you to repeat after me.
Okay.
Don't ignore the front door.
Don't ignore the front door. I love that. Please don't ignore the front door, right?
Don't ignore the front door because you are competing with your competition, right? If you have an empty trade show booth there and it simply says Tracy Hazard and it's the white sign and then it's just got the 6x8 table and no carpet there or nothing, someone's going to look to the right and they're going to be like, all right, Tracy Hazard, and they're going to walk right past. Whereas if they look to the left and your competitor, has put down that carpet, has put down that color branded skirt on the table, nicely placed brochures, banners, and they're working their trade show booth, right? Tracy's not even there, right, at her trade show booth.
Yeah,
and then they go to the other
LinkedIn wise, you guys know who you are. You have like no profile photo. It's like the little head, right? You know who you are out there because I've come to your profiles.
Exactly. So we're just encouraging you to please pay attention. Don't ignore the front door. And now here's some meat and potatoes. What makes up the front door? The 3 core components to the front door of your trade show booth are, number 1, your custom profile picture. Your custom profile picture. Number 2, your custom background. And number 3, your custom headline. Custom headline. Those 3 core components make up the front door to your trade show booth. So there are going to be a couple different avenues in which someone can land on your trade show booth, right? Your LinkedIn profile. One of them is if they have the direct URL to your LinkedIn profile, and the other is they are searching, right? They are searching either through a search engine or through LinkedIn's search bar. There's actually 7,000 searches for names and topics per minute. The last time I checked, in the LinkedIn search bar, it's rapidly being utilized as a strictly business Google type search engine.
Wow.
So why wouldn't you want to take advantage of that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
If other podcasters are going to LinkedIn search and searching for topics of expertise to have guests on their shows, why wouldn't you want to show up in the search results?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? Things like that. So there's 2 main ways to show up to the front door, but one of those ways is either Google search or LinkedIn search predominantly. Right. So let's break down the core component number 1. Core component number 1 is your custom profile picture. Now, we aren't doing a visual demo right now. However, I want you to picture the fact that you have an opportunity to use a profile picture. Right. And it's in the form
we'll have a link to TR's profile right at this point in the blog post so you can check his out because you'll see he's obviously practicing what he preaches. So
sure, absolutely. So your LinkedIn profile picture, whether it be on desktop or mobile, is going to show up as a circle. It's going to show up as a circle.
And it shows up different, guys, so check out both.
Yeah, well, that's not a rabbit hole we want to go down right now.
But just check them both. You want to see how you look.
Just be mindful that desktop is slightly different than mobile devices for LinkedIn. Slightly different. Yeah. Nothing that we need to elaborate on now. What we want to focus on is what type of picture you're utilizing and how can you stand out from all the other search results. Now, the psychographic scripting system, if you'll remember, the definition of that is carefully crafting the correct vocabulary and visuals so that we first captivate someone's attention, second, keep their attention, and third, compel them into action. Now, what's happening in LinkedIn's search bar is if someone types in Tracy, then what's going to happen is it's going to pull up all the Tracys in my first, second, and third degree connections, right? Or if I'm searching for a podcast, like one of the keywords that you are known for, Tracy. And I don't know if everybody can see it. I'll hold it really, really close here. There are 7 circles on the top of that brain. Those 7 circles stand for 7 subconscious stimuli that If you utilize these subconscious stimuli, they will go through the consciousness of your prospect or prospective partner directly to their subconscious and compel them into action.
Love that.
Now, one of those subconscious stimuli is called social salience. In its simplest term, in layman's terms, I'm talking about contrast.
Right.
How can you upload a custom profile picture that contrasts with the environment around it?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I teach people to do is actually put a color branded border around of a circle, right, around their profile picture.
Right. So if anyone's seen my profile, and I know lots of you have out there, because if you guest on this show or if you're a client of mine, you must connect with us, because that's how we share information about you, because we share our clients' wins. But if you have, you know that I have a big purple ring around my picture.
Yes.
And it happens to match the lipstick in that picture, so it has synergy and branding to it. But the purple circle is because that TR taught me to do that.
Thank you for that compliment. And the reality is, because when someone's using LinkedIn search bar and I type Tracy in, my eyes are going to go directly to that color branded border over anyone else's picture. It's just human nature. I have studied psychology and marketing for 30 years. That's how I've come up with the psychographic scripting system that helps you get results. You can think of it as in as simple terms as you want. Don't call it social salience. I don't care if you even remember the psychographic scripting system. What I care about is delivering practical and tactical strategies for you to immediately implement after this call. I love Tracy. I love what she stands for, and I know her community, deserves results. And therefore, we want to simplify this. First, talking about mindset, and now we're getting nitty-gritty on the skill set side of things. Remodel your LinkedIn trade show booth, starting with core component number 1, your custom profile picture. May I have your permission to move forward with core component number 2, Tracy?
Please, I think we're ready and excited.
Core component number 2 is called the custom background. The custom background is what everybody, whether you have free or paid, have the ability of uploading. And oftentimes I'm blown away. Still today, Tracy, I'm blown away that huge executives, very successful speakers, like household names, up until recently, didn't even have a background for their LinkedIn profile. It was just that blue swirly stuff in the background, which is just a template that LinkedIn keeps there. And what blows my mind is they are missing out on taking advantage of valuable real estate. Why would you not want to utilize that valuable real estate and apply the psychographic scripting system to that so that it helps you captivate their attention, keep their attention, and compel them into action?
Yes, absolutely. And we're really big here we talk a lot about cover art and header graphics on our blog posts here. So my listeners and my clients are really understanding of the importance of the visual impact that happens from this.
Mm-hmm.
And so for them to be missing this, you guys are in trouble if I come to your profile and find that out. I'm calling you out on that. On top of the fact that we actually give our clients the everything they need to build that graphic. Like, we give it all sized and everything, and we put the logo for their show, their new logo, and when we develop it, put it in the right position on the background.
Super.
So they just have to add the rest of the stuff for it. So we've already given them some branding things to start with.
Fantastic. Absolutely. And there are many nuances that I would be happy to continue to elaborate on at a different time.
Yeah, absolutely.
With regards to the custom background. The bottom line is, at bare minimum, take advantage of the custom background with the thought in mind that your goal is to cause the viewer to make micro commitments. What can you put on that background that will convey your authority and credibility? What can you put on that custom background that actually pinpoints the primary pain of your prospect or prospective partner? And how can you use visual images to subconsciously edify those other 2 points?
Right.
So it needs to
Absolutely.
be a combination of words and pictures.
Yep, absolutely. And sometimes it's logo words. Like I, of course, would never skip out and putting ink on mine because that it says what it is and it has the authoritative value of being the icon that it is. So these are the things you guys have to remember to be thinking about, is that we are really working here on with our whole approach to podcasting is that it's influence and authority building, right? You're
Mhm.
doing both things at the same time. Influence is building a community, but authority building is building authority within that community to be able to sell them something, to be able to provide them services, to be able to sell them products, like whatever it is that your goal of your show might be, where influencers don't do that. It's only about community building, right? So you're doing both implies there's expertise involved, or there's a deep area of authority and expertise involved. So those things you want to express both.
Absolutely. And so to close out on the 3 core components, core component number 1, your custom profile picture. Core component number 2, your custom background. And core component number 3 is your custom headline. Now, I am going to also share another tidbit from the psychographic scripting system because it works. And that it's something that I call reverse egoism. Reverse egoism.
I like that.
Now, what I mean by that is this goes all the way back to, Socrates and things like that, which is the ego is a good thing and the ego is a bad thing, right? We can't, you know a little bit about Greek mythology. Ego is called id, I-D, right?
Right.
Id. And I won't go down that path, but I just want to explain that for centuries, the human ego has been studied and evaluated, and smart marketers apply what they learned from past experts about the ego. And I call it reverse egoism because oftentimes people write their LinkedIn profile or their bio saying, I did this. And I want to share with your audience that if you start off your headline, your paragraph, your emails with I, subconsciously, the viewer automatically thinks that you're talking about yourself and there's nothing in it for them. And subconsciously, they're going into that conversation, with a negative view of your approach.
With the defensive, you're going to sell me something, right? Because it's always about you, right? That's the idea. Yeah.
We are just pre-programmed for fight or flight and what's in it for me.
Yeah.
It is. It's the reptilian brain makes the decisions.
So my listeners are very used to hearing this. So we have multiple things in our process where we actually work really hard to do this. So many podcasters come to us who already have a show, and the biggest problem with the show and the reason it's not succeeding is that the show title, the name of the show, the cover art is all about them and not about the listener. And so the one thing I teach here is that if you take your picture, although profile pictures aside, that's a totally different thing.
Right.
Take your picture off your cover art, your show will immediately do better. Like we've proven it again and again with people. And if you take your name off the show, not off the hosted by or with, but if you take your name off the show title, it will do better immediately. If you put it in the title, in the description, right? Like you're talking about here, this title of it, if you put it into something that's about the audience, about where they want to be, what they want to get out of it, what they're looking for, what their pain is, how you solve that is really about the benefit to them, not the how you did it. That's later in your profile, right? That's all down there. They can find it.
Correct. And at this point, let me simply say that it has been proven time and time again that people make decisions based on emotion backed by logic. Yeah. Based on emotion backed by logic. And so that's why in your headline and in your custom background, it is my encouragement that you first pinpoint the pain and then personalize that primary pain of your prospect or prospective partner. Focus on the pain first. It's also been proven time and time again that you first focus on the pain and then follow up with the pleasure.
Which makes total sense if you're using you're searching, right? So if people are finding you from LinkedIn search, from Google search, as you mentioned, and you're searching for something, you're more likely to be searching for something because you need a solution.
Correct.
It's more likely to be that.
Exactly. So to close out the three core components by talking about the custom headline and this reverse egoism topic that I brought up, all it means is drop the eyes. Just stop the insanity. Don't start off your LinkedIn headline saying, I help people make more money, right? I mean, if you go out there and search other people's LinkedIn profiles and they're saying, I help, and even if they're a client of another LinkedIn trainer and they are taught to write, I help this or I solve this, it's absolute insanity. That LinkedIn trainer is performing a disservice to their clients and community because they have not studied the psychology of marketing in depth like I have. And that's why, Tracy, your clients get results and my clients get results because we're committed. We're committed to the results, not for the money. We're committed to the impact that your deliverable, that your gift to the marketplace can provide for your community and the impact that the compensation will provide for you and your family.
Right,
And so
absolutely.
please stop the insanity, drop the I's. Never start a sentence with I. That goes just not for LinkedIn, but anything else. Never start a sentence with I.
Yeah,
So
and this is you're going to talk old school LinkedIn, right? Old school LinkedIn was that this is just your resume. And
right.
so that's how everyone was taught at that time to post everything up. Like, of course, it's all about me. It's what I did. That's what my LinkedIn profile is. But you're pointing out the reverse of that. And that's why you're calling it, that's why it's called reverse egoism, right?
Correct.
That's not how people are utilizing LinkedIn. That may be what you thought you were doing, but
Yep.
that's not how other people are utilizing it. And so you're not being found, you're not being selected. You're not getting the
Exactly.
benefit from it.
When I get asked to do a fireside chat for about 30 or 45 minutes on people's stages, I actually begin that fireside chat by saying whether we know it or not and whether we like it or not, perception is reality.
Yep.
And the marketplace will judge your professional presence based on how they see it, not on how you see it.
Yeah.
And that's why someone as fanatical as myself in the systems and the approach to the psychographic scripting system and applying it to your LinkedIn profile is so beneficial for each and every one of your community members. Because what we want to do is make the change from I help people make money. I encourage everybody start their LinkedIn custom headline with an action verb.
Right.
I prefer helping.
Right. And we talk about that on for our shows as well. Action, things that get them into the idea of what it feels like.
Yeah.
So emotional words too. Those are really great ways to pull that in.
Yeah. I have never actively promoted my LinkedIn experience, like LinkedIn trainer experience on my LinkedIn profile. I think that I've shared this with you, Tracy, but I just want everybody to know you're going to go to my LinkedIn profile and it's going to say nothing about the fact that for the last 10 years, I have been focused on teaching people how to use their LinkedIn profile to get more prospects, partners, and platforms. And I want to provide a disclaimer right now, a public disclaimer that there's a reason behind that. The reason behind it is because, number one, other LinkedIn trainers, they see it as an opportunity to sell people LinkedIn training because it's starting to become more and more popular. It still is the dark horse. Tracy knows this because it's getting results. People just don't approach it the right way. And basically, to be point blank, there are other LinkedIn people out there that steal.
Yeah.
Quite honestly.
There are. And then do it badly.
They'll take your concepts and then they'll call themselves a LinkedIn expert. So I've never, ever promoted on LinkedIn that I'm a LinkedIn trainer. Number two, I actually wanted to stand for a perfect case study example, which is I didn't want people to say, oh yeah, TR, you're getting results using your system because you just need to say I'm a LinkedIn trainer and you're on LinkedIn. So it's perfect. And so I've always, like up until now, I've literally got my Get More Speaking Gigs brand, right? Up there. And in the near future, I'm going to be changing it to my mission-driven mastermind brand.
I don't want to miss that. So I'm so glad you're bringing that up, because I was like, how am I going to segue to it? It's like the one thing I haven't checked off on my question list for you.
Oh, fantastic.
So thank you for segueing to it. So TR, you have a mission. So you're shifting places. So before we shift to that, I just want to say, so I want people to clarify, like, so you guys know that I don't sell you stuff here. Like, that's not what we're about. I present people who have great, useful, tactical, practical things that you can utilize and take advantage of. And I want them to share here, and TR's just done that and given you great value already. But there are some of you who want help, and I want to make sure that they're going to be able to. So are you still doing I know you're doing one-on-one consulting, which is just amazing. And if you are my done for you people who are out there who just like, I don't want to touch the tech, TR is the guy. I haven't met anyone else who does it the way that he does it, and does it with such spirit and understanding of who you are. So he's your guy, and I definitely want you to reach out to him. If you're just in this, I don't want to know any about the skill set, I will adopt a new mindset and I will follow your orders, TR. Then he's for you, right? So, but do you still have a do-it-yourselfer model? Do you still have your course and things running?
Of course. So in its simplest form, my signature solution has always been publicly my leveraging LinkedIn brand. Right. That is still my gift to the marketplace, an affordable solution. People get lifetime access. They get 2 live calls every single week forever. That's still always going to be my signature solution. It's my service to the marketplace. Obviously, people that don't want to go through quote unquote a program, there is a done for you solution called Authority Autopilot, in which we include exposure autopilot as well as appointment autopilot in that bundle for people. Basically, it's soup to nuts on, you get me as your mentor, marketing mentor, and we rewrite your LinkedIn profile for you. We fill it all out for you, and we log in as you and start the momentum to increase from that 10 people seeing your profile per month, to 100 to 1,000. So in other words, yes, we have a soup to nuts solution. It's called the Authority Acceleration Bundle, and that's specific to LinkedIn and marketing. Now, the final piece that I want to mention is I have been shifting more away from strict marketing to a type of marketing. There are money-driven mentors out there in the marketplace, and there are mission-driven mentors out there in the marketplace. A money-driven mentor is going to teach money-driven marketing methods, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. However, what's happening is purpose-driven professionals like Tracy, like you, like me, and people that we know, they are enrolling in programs and masterminds and coaching from money-driven marketing mentors, yet they're purpose-driven and it's out of alignment for them. And so no matter how hard they try using those methods, they're not getting results. So to close
that makes sense.
To close out on this component of my answer, I have shifted more towards standing up, letting the marketplace know that I'm a mission-driven marketing mentor, and that we utilize proven strategies, tactics that honor your values and virtues and honor your prospects' values and virtues. And that's where the mission-driven mastermind comes into place, of which I was sharing as an example for the custom headline. So in the near future, Tracy, my headline is actually going to be switched to say, helping emerging transformational leaders finally turn their mission into a movement.
I love that. And you are doing that yourself. So it's not like this is just a ploy to get people, right? You are doing this. So you are running a new mission-driven, I'm going to call it's a mission-driven movement itself, right? So tell us about Philanthroparties, please.
Okay.
Please, so, I want you to mention it here, because
yes.
It's a very, the way that it's just so characteristic of your mission-driven mindset, which I love.
Thank you. So before I talk about something that I'm doing, let me talk about how it's relevant for your listeners. Okay?
Yep.
So it's relevant for your listeners because, Tracy, you shared with me that you teach your listeners a guesting strategy, right?
Yep.
And that guesting strategy, to my understanding, is that they have an asset, an authority asset, and it's a podcast. and they go out there and hand select individuals to invite onto their podcast so that they can get to know them better, so they can cultivate a relationship with them and hopefully figure out, are they a prospect or are they a prospective partner? Is that correct in general terms?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
There's a segment of our listeners who are doing that type of podcast. It's a business building strategy.
Super, super. So those of you that understand that strategy or loosely understand that strategy, it'll make sense what my point is as it's related to philanthroparties. So I encourage each and every one of you through that guesting strategy, when you talk to these potential guests, of which your goal is to figure out, are they a prospect or are they a prospective partner, right? One of those two things, that you in your conversation at some point convey what you stand for and what you stand against.
Right. And we've heard that, guys, because there's been multiple podcasts. Jim Beach, especially, his School for Startups is his show. And he specifically mentions that he believes that is the key to his podcast, that he's very clear on his he calls it his angle for his show, but he's very clear on what he stands for. And that's what he believes drives listeners to him and draws the right guests to him as well.
Most of you, let's see, do I have it here? No, I don't have it handy. Oh, I do. So I actually teach my clients something called core connection. Core connection.
I love that name for it. That's perfect.
Core connection basically is, what lessons has life taught you that uniquely qualify you and only you to offer your gift to the marketplace, right? Some people refer to it as my why, but what I ask people to do is go on the inside and come to grips with your core connection, which is your seed. And from that seed, your core connection will be the branches and all that all of your messaging and marketing should stem from.
Right. I want to just step in here, TR, and say to that people that you've heard me say this in a different, slightly different way on this show here, is that you are the host and you are uniquely suited to deliver the messaging. You're uniquely suited to deliver the content, and you're uniquely suited to interview these guests. That is my term for it. It's the same thing. It's core connection. That's exactly what. It's a match to you, your audience, and whoever or whatever you're introducing them to.
Exactly. And to make it relevant to the philanthroparties that you want me to explain, all I've been doing specifically in the last 3 years has been sharing more of my personal beliefs in my messaging, marketing, and communication. And so what Tracy wants me to elaborate on is, yes, at the end of the day, I'm a marketer, right? I'm aware of that. I'm very, very good at helping people build their platforms. I've taken people from $40,000 a year to $4 million a year. I helped Michael Gerber, the guy that wrote the E-Myth book. I'm his former vice president. Within the first 45 days of working with him, I helped him generate $326,000 when we applied the psychographic scripting system to some of his approaches. I've worked with Laura Langmeyer.
This is great. Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah. I mentioned those at the beginning, and this is what I mean. This isn't just name dropping here. TR has deep experience here.
And I now use that experience to serve, emerging transformational leaders and change makers like your podcasters. And so my point here is that I myself, even though at its core, my core deliverable is still a marketer, I now then classify myself as a mission-driven marketer. And as a mission-driven marketer, I believe that I'm supposed to use my business skills and my business network to also raise awareness and funds for causes that I believe in. Now, Tracy has met my
guys out there, because you are the same way. I hear it from you all the time, you podcasters. So listen up to what he's done with it.
So Tracy has met my 10-year-old daughter, Abigail Grace. And when Abigail was 7 years old, we started a charity together called Peace Through Participation, because we believe that we cannot experience world peace until people first experience inner peace. The charity is focused on supporting the self-worth and self-esteem in children of all races, religions, and regions of the world. So let me just quickly, in layman's terms. At 7 years old, my daughter and I started a charity. It supports the self-worth and self-esteem in children. Every year we fund a girls' self-esteem conference that is here local in Orange County. Last year we had over 500 girls there. Not one of them had to pay for a ticket because we go out to the local orphanages, we go out to local shelters, and we recruit the girls that really need a day of self-worth and self-esteem. So that's one of the projects. Another project is that my wife is an eye doctor, and so we fund a mobile eye care clinic that goes into impoverished neighborhoods. And last year alone, they saw 30,000 students and checked their eyes. And then we gave about 10% of them that needed glasses, not just the hand-me-down glasses. We negotiated with a designer for discounted prices for us to pay for designer glasses for these kids.
Oh, I love that.
So why is this all relevant, and how does it tie to philanthro parties? Well, what I've done is I firmly believe I'm supposed to use my business network and my business skills to raise awareness and donations for causes that I believe in. One of them that I believe in is my daughter's charity. So what we've done is we've created this brand called Philanthro Parties. And the tagline is invite-only experiences for purpose-driven professionals.
I love it. All the P's.
Our primary promise, right? Our primary promise for someone who participates, with philanthro parties is drinks, deep conversations, and dancing. And so
lots of fun.
And so I've applied, right, my brand building skills to a brand that is focused as a fundraiser. So in exchange for a donation to my daughter's charity, we invite somewhere between 75 and 150 emerging transformational leaders, change makers, master marketers, podcasters, and influencers. And we all come to my home in Orange County here. And we talk about how to support each other. And so to close this loop, it is, yes, I'm a marketer. However, I'm successful as a marketer, and I can take care of my beautiful wife and my beautiful daughter because, number one, I apply the psychographic scripting system. And number two, because I realize that people need to know the real TR, what I stand for and what I stand against. And this year, Tracy, I've invested probably 40% of my time launching and building that Philanthro Parties platform. And the last event, we ended up having 63 people show up, and we only announced it 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time.
I love what you're doing, TR, and I think this is just so relevant. I want people to follow you. I want people to find you. So as always, there is going to be tons of links and images. So I want to make sure that if you aren't watching the video and you're listening to the podcast, we'll have the images of all the different graphics that TR has been sharing with us here visually. And we'll make sure all of that is in the post for this blog, but it's at feedyourbrand.co. So everything will be there to be able to find him, especially linking into his LinkedIn profile. So we'll make sure that happens to you. I want you to reach out to him. I want you to look at the changes that he's going to be making to his profile. I want you to watch what's going on with him. We'll also have links to philanthro parties because I want you to understand and see what you can build. When you build up your influence and your authority and you are able to do what TR is doing, you're going to be able to have a much more rich environment that is serving all. Because you guys have missions, you guys have impact that you want to have on the world. And the best way to do that is to increase this influence and authority. And that starts with little things and little fixes, like fixing your LinkedIn profile. So TR, I can't thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Everyone, you can reach out to both of us at feedyourbrand.co, and you can reach us on social media because we'll be tagging TR in all of our posts. So thank you all for listening. This has been Tracy Hazard and TR Garland on today's Feed Your Brand.